to be the #1 disabler and killer of those under 40 years of age. And whereas the impacts of an acquired brain injury may affect the person's cognitive, physical, psychological, mental health, and social well-being, with potentially life-altering effects on their families and friends. And whereas the Newfoundland and Labrador Brain Injury Association, developed in 1984, advocates for brain injury survivors to enhance their lives. The association identifies the needs of survivors, their families and friends, and advocates for quality care and services, as well as improves public awareness of brain injury through education. And whereas designating June as Brain Injury Awareness Month in the city of Mount Pearl may help reduce incidents, promote education and awareness, and aid survivors of brain injury to rebuild their lives and achieve their maximum potential. Therefore, on behalf of the City of Mount Pearl and Council, I, the Mayor, do hereby proclaim June 1st to June 30th as Brain Injury Awareness Month. And I will sign that proclamation. Is there anybody here who would like to speak to the proclamation? Jim?
Thank you very much. As you recently have probably noticed, the government of Newfoundland has made it mandatory to wear a helmet now for all off-road vehicles. It was about time. And shortly after that happened, somebody didn't wear a helmet and they were killed. Mm-hmm. And this happens quite a bit. What we do, we're an advocate for brain injury survivors. However, there's a lot that don't make it. And to give you a little background, first when I was asked to get involved here about 2.5 years ago, Tom Lush called me up and asked me. And I hesitated, but then I finally said, okay. And the first thing I started hearing from different people that were calling in was I'm in a brain fog. And I couldn't figure out what a brain fog was. So I asked you to explain, but it really didn't help. Shortly after, I had a stroke. For about 2 months, I was in a brain fog. I didn't know where I was. If I was driving with somebody else, I couldn't drive. I lost my license, but got it back, thank God. And thank God I've 100% recovered. But even if I was in a car behind another vehicle, I'd be thinking I was slamming into that vehicle, or the driver was. Same thing with cars coming from the side. It's an awful feeling. And a lot of people don't try to understand some of these brain injured people because they have a hard life. And hopefully most get to a situation where they can accept their injury because most don't get better. Yeah. And I have here today Cassandra Stocker. Cassandra is our Director of Program and Services. And if any of you would want to know anything about brain injury, give her a call at the office. She's got a diploma from Mom for her degree, and she has brain diplomas from Mohawk, right? Mohawk College, yeah. And she's been with us now close to a year. And so she's doing a good job in getting the message out. And, like, we've never come to Mount Pearl before and asked for a proclamation. We got the city raising our flag, St. John's. I think they're all around raising our flag on the 15th. And the government is lighting Confederation building in light blue. Mm-hmm. Same with Government House. So we're getting out there and trying to make people aware of what a brain injury is. And I just put on about Facebook about the helmet, and it's mandatory. I could not believe all the people said, "Oh, I'm going to wear a helmet." And people don't realize how serious it can be.
Well, we can help you here, Jim, and thank you both for coming in with if you don't mind, we could do a picture and help promote the proclamation. Thanks for coming in. Council, any final comments? Deputy Mayor?
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming in. So it sounds like you're new to the city, so welcome, and welcome to the supports and services that you guys do. That's tremendous. I'm curious as to, for somebody, because I would say this is This is not uncommon to have someone of a family or friend that is at some point in their life dealing with a cognitive, challenge that could be resulted from a brain injury. And I'm just wondering if I were to refer someone to your services or talk a little bit about that, what are some of the things you might want to let people know about that what you're doing right now? And I'm looking at Cassandra only because you seem to be the program person, but certainly if you wanted to share, I always give an opportunity for what, the on the ground stuff that people are doing in their organization, right?
She has some business cards. She'll give you.
Fantastic. Okay.
Anybody, you can refer anybody. Yeah.
I'd love some. That'd be great.
Mostly we help navigate the system because the system can be quite challenging.
Great.
Especially for someone with cognitive deficits, trying to understand where to go, what's available, very foggy. And unfortunately, there are a lot of gaps in the healthcare system.
Mhm.
However, we do our best to bridge those gaps. We have a support and recreation group for brain injury survivors that we're actually getting up and going again this month. We're doing a lot of different activities like arts and crafts, different outings out in the community, because community reintegration is very, very important, and it's definitely lacking for sure.
Well, thanks for coming in. Any final?
Thank you.
Sorry, follow up, good, okay.
No,
Councillor Locke, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mhm.
I was just thinking, some years back, we had someone in from the Brain Injury Association, and you guys did a little display down at the Team Gushu complex. And I always remember, because I remember the impact it had, where the mayor may remember they had a bicycle helmet and they had a watermelon, and they showed the impact of dropping the watermelon without the helmet, and then the impact with the helmet. And the young people that were around there, I'll never forget, the impact it had on them seeing that. And it really brought home the importance of wearing a helmet and how quickly things can happen. No one expects to injure themselves. So it's all about the preventative approach. So I'm delighted that you guys came in here, and we're certainly proud and happy to read your proclamation and to give you any support you guys deserve. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
And we'll be happy to light up City Hall in light blue sometime this month. We'll work the details with you folks, right? Join us for a picture. All right. The next proclamation, council, is the Awareness Week for hidradenitis suppurativa, which is June 6th to the 12th. Whereas hidradenitis suppurativa, and I'll say HS going forward, is a chronic debilitating inflammatory skin disease characterized by painful skin lesions for which there is no known cure. And whereas as many as 4% of men, women, and children in Newfoundland and across Newfoundland and Labrador and across Canada are living with HS, but may not have a diagnosis due to lack of both patient and physician awareness. Whereas HS is a painful, disfiguring, and disabling disease that has an adverse impact on the quality of life of those living with this disease. Understanding and compassion for those with HS and timely, proper diagnosis is vital. And whereas treating HS is a challenge for both patients and physicians, as no one treatment works for everyone. Some treatments lose effectiveness over time. Many treatments are used in combination with other treatments, and all treatments may cause a unique set of side effects. And whereas the understanding and acceptance of the general public is an important factor in patients' treatment and health, and HS Awareness Week provides an opportunity to increase awareness, correct misconceptions, promote education and support, recognize the struggles of those affected, and shorten the delay in diagnosis. And whereas in-person awareness activities are not possible this year, and that's more a reference to the past 12 months, however, support for patients continues during social distancing with support via phone and online, and the medical treatment and care for patients continue both virtually and in person when necessary. HS Heroes, a registered not-for-profit, is a community for people living with HS, dedicated to increasing awareness, educating and advocating for those whose lives have been affected by the disease, whether it be a patient, family member, friend, caregiver, or healthcare professional. And I'm going to sign that proclamation on behalf of my colleagues on council here today. I don't think we have anybody here speaking to it, but I can do speak from experience within our family. It's a disease that's not well understood. It can be treated, but it's complicated. And I think the key thing here is when you start one treatment, it's not necessarily going to be effective and long lasting, and you'll have to continuously switch to other treatments and perhaps back and forth. Would anybody like to speak to it? All right, folks, thank you very much. And we'll make sure this gets back to the right people within that society. The next proclamation, welcome to the Shriners. And it's related to Shriners International is a well-known respected fraternity dedicated to the fun fellowship and philanthropy with hundreds of thousands of members who belong to, get this, 196 chapters throughout the world. And whereas members support Shriners Hospitals for Children, a pediatric healthcare system that was founded by the Shriners Fraternity and provides all care with no financial obligation to patients or their families. Membership in the Shriners Fraternity offers the invaluable opportunity to build camaraderie and lifelong friendship with others of the same character and with outstanding values. Whereas Shriners International offers its members professional development and leadership opportunities in their local communities and internationally. Whereas it is fitting and appropriate to acknowledge and celebrate this wonderful fraternity and its rich history. On the anniversary of the day, the Imperial Council of Shriners International was formed June 6th, 1872. Now, therefore, I, the Mayor of Mount Pearl, on behalf of my colleagues on City Council, we do hereby proclaim June 6th to the 12th as Shriners International Awareness Week here in Mount Pearl. And we do encourage all of our citizens to learn more about Shriners International and celebrate its many impressive achievements over the past, 150 years. And in witness thereof, I shall sign the document. And I would call upon anybody in the room who would like to speak to this particular proclamation. Yeah, coming to you. Yeah, sorry, no worries. We have Peter Kelsey and Bill and Peter. Welcome. Thank you for coming. I honestly wish our society did not need your services, but when we do, I'm so glad you're here to help us. Go ahead.
Well, to introduce us, actually, Peter is the president of the Compass Mount Pearl Shrine Club. We're quite active in the community of Mount Pearl. And I am what they call potentate of Mazal Shriners, which is the provincial organization. I'm also a member, past president, and a many-year secretary of the Mount Pearl Compass Shrine Club. So we have a great appreciation for Mount Pearl. And I'm going to tell you this little story because I'm sure you love it. From a certain point of the competition over the years, we have a center on Topsail Road where we operate from as a provincial body and as the home of the St. John Shrine Club. And there were people that are kind of nagging, I'll use the word, at me to, well, how come you guys don't meet out in our building? And I said, well, two problems there. I said, we're Mount Pearl Country Shrine Club, and you know, it's St. John's, we need people identity. And it was sort of, oh yeah, but you know, our rates are really good. And I said, yeah, I don't think you're going to beat the rates of Mount Pearl because the gratitude of the Shriners that the Country Shrine Club have been operating in the city of Mount Pearl for over 25 years at zero rent. And that's very meaningful for us. We are the type of, I won't get too deep here, but we are a different philanthropic organization than most. We raise money for, when we tell you we're going to raise money for what we call our patient transportation fund, this is a fund which we use to send Newfoundland and Labrador patients to one of our shrine hospitals, primarily the hospital in Montreal, which I might mention is a state-of-the-art hospital. It would actually blow your mind if you ever get an opportunity to visit that hospital. I did a few years ago, and one of the things that I was really thinking, it's all themed, it's new. There's like a Atlantic theme, so there's whales on the walls and so on, and various representatives of the country. And they've got a huge research facility there. In fact, the biggest research facility within the Shriners organization is located at the hospital in Montreal. And when I was there, they were 3D printing a child's foot. So through the diagnostic imaging that the Shriners now have, you can do this, put it all in the computer, and you can actually produce a model of the child's foot. Whereas you could have, you know, orthopedic problem in the middle of the foot, you take all kinds of x-rays, but the doctors really didn't know what they're getting into until they opened up and did surgery. As a result of the success of the Shriners throughout North America, we used to brag we had 22 hospitals. We no longer have 22 hospitals, but we do have 22 medical facilities because there are so many things that over the years, the child had to be admitted to hospital and had to stay in hospital for weeks on end, are now handled through day surgery. It's the model for a lot of, you know, this kind of surgery. And it's also been so successful that the Shriners are now known very much for cleft lip and palate, which came out of, it's a spin-off actually from the research and what they did with burns. We've had a lot of patients, but a lot of patients from Mount Pearl. We have some at the present time that we're treating in Montreal Hospital. The Montreal Hospital combined with the Mexico Hospital handled 50% of the total Shriners inpatient visits at the present time, which is astronomical. The Janeway Hospital are referring patients now on a very regular basis, particularly for scoliosis. We've done amazing work in scoliosis. We have patients from here. We have a patient from here in Mount Pearl, actually, that not all that long ago was to our Montreal Hospital. She was 12, and she came back from the hospital. She was there for a week, and she came back 1.5 inches taller than when she left. Her spine was in an S shape, and that's been corrected. So I guess one of the things with also the past has been that we haven't been out there blowing our own horn very much. You know, like wasn't sort of the thing to do. But we recognize that we do need to do that because some people refer to the Shriners and say, "Oh, those guys, funny hats with little furs." And yes, it is. Or if you're familiar with the Flintstones, they had the stone cutters. So I'd be Pooh. I've done my best to become Fred Flintstone, but I think I've got a bit more work to do on it. But anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I I had a pair here that I had a couple of notes made out, and I need to refer to that now because this is.
You're just getting started.
This is a very significant year for us, as you mentioned, 150 years.
Wow.
A fraternal organization. In order to be a Shriner, you have to be a member of a Masonic organization. And, you know, their motto is that we take good men and make them better. Well, we take those good men who've been made better, and we give them the opportunity to practice a lot of that within the community. And we're known as the playground of masonry. So there's why you see the little cars, and you'll see the clowns, and you know, our band, which is in any parades and the like. So this year being very significant is that 150th anniversary. It's also the 100th anniversary of founding of Shriners Hospitals. And it's the 40th anniversary of the founding of LaSalle Shriners. And we were active within the province for probably 28 years before that under Filey Shriners, which are based out of Nova Scotia. So we've come a long ways. Compass, as I said, has been in this community for over, I should have looked up the number, but it didn't occur to me. It was over 25 years, I'm pretty sure of that. We spend in the area of $300,000 a year sending patients to our various hospitals. I mentioned Montreal, there's a hospital for, we do spinal cord injury, that kind of thing in Philadelphia. The trips to Philadelphia, many times by your ambulance. So recent years was a skiing accident up in Clarendon, and we sent a young man there. We had a diving accident down on the southern shore, and we sent a young man there. Was, and you know, now I'm bragging here, now I'm telling the story. It was $30,000 their ambulance cost. Send this young man down to Philadelphia. When he went, he wouldn't allow anybody to bathe him. He just wouldn't eat. He was totally pretty much. In 24 hours of being in Philadelphia, he was in the shower. His outlook was a whole lot better. He's got a tiny bit of feeling in one hand at the present time, but he has come a long way. During that stay in hospital, I think he was there about a month at that time, and we had to bring him back by air ambulance because of his condition. So that was a $60,000 round trip. And I'm complaining because last week I spent $3,000 to go to Ottawa and back. So anyway, I think I've probably taken up enough of your time, other than to also mention, present time, we have 12 patients that are from month of May, we have 12 patients that traveled to our hospitals and back. And so far, we've got 14 down for June, and June hasn't even started. So
Wow.
The support of the community is extremely important to us, and we appreciate you all and appreciate this opportunity.
It works both ways. Councillor Fry, I think, would like to respond.
I would. I want to thank you so much for coming in. I was delighted to see this proclamation because I grew up with the Shriners. I have been to so many bingos and flipper dinners and raffles at the Shrine Club. My parents were always involved. And I got to tell you, there's so much joy that you bring in your community involvement, like with the parades and the little cars and the jail and people and the Oriental band, and people see this. And I know that you guys do so much more than that, but I hope you know how much you bring to our community and how much we appreciate it. And to have the potentate here himself. I mean, Peter Kelsey is everywhere. I see him at all the volunteer stuff, and he's such an extraordinary representative of the Shrine. And to have you both here tonight and to talk about all the wonderful things that you're doing is very much appreciated. And I hope you talk about it more, because you do so much, and you're very, people need to know all of the wonderful things that you do. Thank you.
Councillor Rice, and then Deputy Mayor Kiley.
Thank you, Your Worship. Me as well, I want to say a big thank you for coming in. I have a personal connection actually to the Shrine as well. My uncle, the late Bill Benson, and both of you know Bill, he was involved in the Shrine pretty heavy. And when I moved to Mount Pearl in 1988, Bill always, called us, and we certainly supported the Shriners on the raffles. And we used to go to tops of the road there every time they had the raffle and their events. And one thing I miss is they used to have seafood dinner at lunchtimes every Friday. I hope to get that back soon. We used to go to quite a bit. The work group that I work with facilities department. We used to go one time I think we had 36 when I went for lunch and Bill to go over the Flabbergasted. Also, Bert Avery was a good friend of the families, and Bert as well. He's involved with the Shriners pretty heavy, and I know that he would say both, I guess, Bert and late Bill put their heart and soul into it to certainly show when they used to go to the event. So I'd like to say thank you on behalf of my family, because I mean, it's a great cause, and you guys and girls do great work. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Just wondering what are ways in which you folks would need support? You know, all the works and efforts that you're putting in, and I know that that's tremendous, and that there's probably, you know, a small and mighty amount of individuals doing a significant amount of work. That's always the way when it comes to those incredible good serving organizations. I'm just wondering if there's anything you would like to share to say, whether it's a way to donate, you're looking for members. What are some matters in which people in the community can support you?
Well, I can certainly speak to both of that and say all of the above. In fact, I have an application, we have an application, which is so as if people carrying their wallet, you know, be a Shriner. For the ladies, yes, ours is a men's organization, but we do have a ladies group that have a lot of fun and support us. I would say, you know, we get tremendous support. Again, we can always use more support. We certainly need members, and you know, any of the males present, we can figure out a way to get you there, and you'll get a lot of satisfaction. We participate at Christmas at the Glacier, and we have been since the inception of that show, and we do very, very well at that show. We can make up to, I think last year we close to $5,000 in, you know, in that 4 days, and it's so invigorating to go in. Like, I'm not a ticket seller per se. You know, if there's tickets on the go, it's $50. Here's my $50 for my tickets, and, you know, that's it. But I really enjoy going there because you're not in there for, we do about 4 hour, usually 4 hour shifts, and you won't be there without coming across several patients or family members of patients. So, you know, for the city of Mount Pearl, we're supporting us very well now. Certainly could use, you know, some financial support. And that would be very good. It's been very tough for us during COVID. Our membership, I should use, is on the older side. Yeah. And as a result, we were through COVID. Well, I happened to be in Alberta when my wife was supposed to have an operation the following day, when everything started just went. Yeah. And you know, the very first reaction was, so we had shut down our bingo before anything was even announced in Newfoundland, because I was in Alberta, and they went from nobody knew anything about it to all of a sudden, boom, shutting down our product. So like, we shut down our bingo. We were super careful with everything we did. We buried people from doing it. Anyway, the recovery now has been it's been tough. Yeah. It's been tough. Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming in. Sorry, Peter. Always good to see you both. I'm glad you'll be back at the Christmas parade this year, and perhaps there'll be a bowl of soup or two afterwards.
As for the older, he said, he's speaking for himself.
Oh. Let's get a snap if we could, please.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.
This is the, we should have started at 3 o'clock. Easy for us retirees to say. Jason, will you speak the proclamation for recreation at all, or just? Yep. Here we go. Thank you very much again. And we have another proclamation as it pertains to Recreation Month. May and June are proclamations and walks. Whereas the city of Mount Pearl recognizes that recreation enhances quality of life, active living, and lifelong learning, helps people to live happier and longer, develops creativity, and builds healthy bodies and positive lifestyles. And whereas recreation provides opportunities for personal growth and development for people of all abilities and can be especially helpful to people living with disabilities. And whereas our parks, open spaces, and trails ensure ecological sustainability, provides space to enjoy nature, helps maintain clear air and water, and preserve plant and animal wildlife. And whereas recreation is an important contributor to community economic development, which creates jobs, fosters tourism, and makes communities more attractive places in which to live, learn, work, and play. Therefore, here in the city of Mount Pearl, we hereby proclaim the month of June to be Recreation Month, and I'm going to sign that, council, on our behalf this 31st day. And we have a Recreation and Public Safety Committee here at the city of Mount Pearl. So I'm going to call upon Councillor Antle and then Director Collins and possibly more.
Thank you very much, Boris. I think, every month recreation. When you go around our trails, we're on anything, and we have a Mount Pearl, it's always cool. And hats off to our staff for doing a fabulous job. We certainly do appreciate everything you do. Right? And so when you go around, you see soccer, you see baseball, it's always full. Winter, summer, spring, so hats off, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Director Collins, please.
Thank you. Just to add to that, Mount Pearl it's been well known for its recreation facilities, its staff, its programming. Our trails certainly over the years and even throughout the pandemic, how much use they've gotten, what a gem it is, what a value it is to the city. People have the opportunity to get outside, and we offer a wide array of programming and also an opportunity for our facilities, which were well known in the region and the province.
Well said. Further thoughts before we move on in the agenda? Deputy Mayor.
Just to echo the sentiments so far with regards to the value and just how proud we should be of what we do in our recreation department and the ways in which we think about recreation in our city is above and beyond just an activity. And, certainly we have members here that are sitting in and listening in right now. And we have members throughout the entire city, both our staff and individuals and volunteers that make so much of this up. And, I think it's a good opportunity to absolutely offer our appreciation to that, but recognize that recreation goes above and beyond a single program. It has a mental health component to it. Throughout COVID, we recognize the value of outdoors, and we know it's been such a difficult time when it comes to keeping people active. And I think our city has been very flexible and responsive to that in all sorts of ways. But yes, recreation is something that I feel everybody's impacted on. It's a mental wealth. It's a community health matter, and also it's an environmental matter. Recreation is one of those things that we need to think about in all sorts of parts of our life. So having green space, having places to walk, having a place to be active and social, and on days in which, in difficult times where you don't have those activities, it's absolutely fundamental. So I think it's really well put, Councillor Antle, you said that recreation is every month, and I think there's a lot to be said about this, but certainly I'm happy that we're acknowledging it in the month of June and just all of the aspects of that work.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move to committee reports now, and planning, engineering, development, Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Your Worship. So
What?
number one on our
Is your mic
agenda-
on? Right, thank you. Mine.
We had 6 bids that were received for this tender. Materials inspection services are provided to multiple capital work projects as required. The cost of these services are charged to project budgets. Recommendation from committee is Planning Engineering Development Committee recommends that the contract for 2022 material testing and inspection services standing out will be awarded to the lowest qualified bidder. All rock construction limits for bid amount of $112,516 and HSD included.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Councillor Rice, seconded by Councillor Fry. Any comments or questions? Councillor Antle has one. I saw your hand up. Thought you were making the motion, but
Just a quick note on that. I see that it is in our budget. How's that relate to last year or last year's contract?
Manager of Engineering Services, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So yes, the rates have actually reduced a little bit from last year. So we see some units, some of them stayed very much the same and some have actually reduced a little bit from last year. So
Yeah, this is not a fixed price contract. This is all about attracting unit prices.
yes, it's
So at
all
the end of-
broken down into units on a
So-
as required basis, depending on the.
It just
the type
depends
of
on the
project.
work that has to be tested at the end of the day, the volume and the type, eh?
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Just where, seems like everything else is going on.
Thank you.
Anything further? I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. Number 2 is Summit Center Phase Loss Protection. Request for approval to proceed. The background on this one is Summit Phase Loss Protection is a system that will be installed in the main Summit electrical panel. It has sensors connected to the wires on the utility power side of the breaker and the monitors. The voltage with 3-phase coming in. The committee has advised that the electrical service contractor, Pro Circuit Electrical, was asked to source the appropriate phase loss protection equipment for the Summit Center. In accordance with our electrical service contract, Pro Circuit provided a total quote for supply and installation at a total cost of $21,550 at $50.86, HSD included. So recommendation, the planning, engineering, and development committee approve to proceed with the work as planned via the electrical service contract for the total sum of $21,550.86, HSD included. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Rice, seconded by Councillor Fry. Deputy Mayor.
Just a quick question on, so this was not sole source, it went through a particular company. I was wondering if you could just comment on that a little bit?
Sure, thank you. So this is the electrical service contractor that went through the competitive process and they do work all around the city. So I guess the cost analysis was done, completed, and they can provide, there's only one supplier, to my understanding, for the local Eaton vendor, there's only one. So the contractor that we have on standing offer could get a lower rate than what the city could get. So
Yeah,
so
that
that's the
rate
avenue we went.
is in a 3-year electrical contract.
Yes, I believe it is.
Typically,
yes.
and it's typically a schedule of rates. So there is a sole source, which is beyond our control with regards to the materials. And the labor rates, I guess it was your assessment that those rates were cheaper in the contract than maybe we'd achieve in the market.
Yes.
The labor rates, I mean.
Yes, it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Great, thanks for that clarity.
Thank you.
Further questions? If there are none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. So number 3 is the Park Shade Fuel Switching Climate Change Project, funding transfer. I'll give you some background on this one. The request for proposals for the Park Shade Fuel Switching Project was originally awarded to S&C Lateral in June of 2020. Final design and tendering work with this project has been delayed due to several reasons, which include the following: increased coordination with like power due to the required utility easement and utility upgrades from necessary electrical upgrades required by the new design. a project budget deficit that required transfer of funding internally to proceed with the work, and COVID-19 pandemic delays, which pushed this project priority back repeatedly since 2020. As a result of these notes, items and existing contracts with the consultant for this project has expired. In order to amend the contract, SSE level has requested that the prime consultant agreement be amended to account for the increase in engineering fees since 2022, account for additional design changes to engineering drawings for tender preparation, an increased cost of hazard material testing, increased coordination with Newfoundland Light and Power due to easement upgrades, coordination during the consultant phase. And in addition, work for contract administration as the project has exceeded anticipated estimated schedule. So recommendation, Planning, Engineering, and Development Committee recommends that amending the contract with SNC Lebanon for an additional amount of $27,638.76, HST included, which will cover the items noted below. And I so move.
Again, moved by Councillor Rice, seconded by Councillor Fry. Questions, comments, council? I believe this project is on budget. This is additional work that had to be scoped out in order to make the transition from burning fuel to electricity, which is in line with our climate change action plan. Hearing none further, Deputy Mayor.
Quick question. I'm wondering if we could just comment on what the impact will be environmentally if we've done a cost analysis with this switch overall.
Sorry, could you just repeat that?
Sure.
Yeah.
With regards to the project, just I think it's an excellent endeavor with regards to our environmental targets or endeavor to become more green. But I'm wondering if we've done a financial assessment of what's going to be different from burning gasoline or doing the switch from this from moving from one to the other.
Sure. So I have not, I guess I have not seen any analysis of the amount of fuel versus, the savings of actual fuel burned. But, as a green initiative, we've reviewed that and, there's numerous items like, it's endless, I guess. No fuel needed. So, but to break it down, we did have that discussion internally, and with the fluctuation in prices and the fluctuation in use, that I guess the data wasn't ready at the time of this meeting. So.
Oh, that's very
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
think what it does is, in addition to reducing our carbon footprint, it also creates less risk and cost going forward, right? Because the price of electricity generally is very stable, although it's recently risen. The price of oil and gas, as people have seen, is up and down. So we should have a little bit more, it won't necessarily be that much more economical, but it will be in line with our climate change action plan. Further comments, questions? I'll call the question. All in favor? And those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Councillor Fry, please. Yes?
Thank you, Worship.
You guys good? Sorry.
Okay, next on our agenda is the Mount Pearl City Hall improvements, and this is for the new roof and HVAC. The request is for the approval of a contractor change order. Now, just to give you some background on this, during the on-site meetings between city management and the control subcontractor responsible for installing the new building automation system that controls the city hall heating and cooling system, it was determined that there were additional scope items required that are not currently covered under the existing tender, which involves additional sensors, wiring, installation, and software integration to control the heating systems in all of the washrooms and the vestibule area in City Hall, which are required to improve system performance and energy efficiency in these noted areas. As a result, engineering services and facility maintenance have requested a change order to include these items as noted above. So again, this is in addition to that was picked up on during the process. So Planning, Engineering, and Development Committee recommends the approval of this contractor change order number 3 to JMJ Construction Limited at a value of $7,697.53, HST included. And please note that this budget still, this project still remains within budget. And the energy efficiency improvements, because of this change order, will provide long-term energy efficiency benefits to the city. And I so move.
Moved by Counselor Fry, seconded by Counselor Rice. Good summary. Any questions, council? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
Okay, next we have our building and occupancy permit listing for the period of May 16th to the 27th. So the committee recommends that the building permits issued for the period of May the 2nd to the 13th, showing a total construction value of $1,022,300 be approved. And further, that the occupancy permits listed be accepted as presented. And these are here in your kit. You can see that there's lots of activity taking place. Fences, renovations, paving, driveways, patio decks, so on and so forth. So people are getting busy now and doing lots of improvements as the weather improves. And I so move.
Counselor Fry has moved the building permits as well as the occupancy permits, seconded by Counselor Rice. All in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? And that motion is carried as well.
And finally, for us, we just have a couple of status reports. For the facilities maintenance, preparation is underway for summer maintenance for the Glacier and the Summit Center. And of course, it's the time of year, multiple tenders for the 2022 construction season have been issued. And that's it for our report this evening, Your Worship.
Well, thank you very much. Moving right along to the Recreation and Community Safety Committee report. Counselor Antle, please.
First one, and that's regarding our summer maintenance and shutdowns for Summit and Reed Center and Glacier. The information of the public, scheduled maintenance of the Summit, Reed Center and Glacier Array. Mechanical equipment takes place annually. These shutdown periods are noted as below. Summit Pool, that's going to shut down from May the 30th to June 22nd. And during that time, it's just not a small shutdown. We're doing pool filter cleaning, pool deck light repairs, draining clean both pools, and the pool deck surrounding toilets. During the Glacier G1 is going to shut down from May 9th to the 25th. During that time, we're going to do a green light switch to the LED. Glacier 2 from June 13th to the 24th. A green light switch to LED and a compressor wall change. And at the Reed Center Gymnasium from June 27th to the 30th, we're going to do that. It's going to be a new curtain divider replacement, a basketball backboard, and realignment. So as you can see, even though we shut down that time frame, it's going to be quite busy. That's for your information.
No motion there. Most of that's already started.
Yep.
Counselor Lane.
Thank you, Your Worship. And number 2 on our agenda is National Health and Fitness Day, which will be happening June 11th, 2022. So in celebration of the National Health and Fitness Day, the city is offering 2 free events at the Reed Community Center. So the first event is 10 a.m. to 12 noon, family fun activities. So all ages are invited to visit the Reed Center and try some new games and play some classics. Bounty castles will be in place for use. So it should be lots of fun. And then from 1 to 2 p.m., we have the Pound class, which is an exercise class for adults age 17 plus. Pound is a full body cardio jam session, combining easy to follow cardio moves with strength training and drumming. The above workout fuses Pilates, isometric movements, plyometric, and yoga-based poses. All are encouraged to bring their own mat. So I encourage residents to attend both activities and enjoy what sounds to be a fun workout. Number 3 on our agenda is the 20-minute makeover of the Waterford River Cleanup Day. So this has been moved to June 11, 2022. A notice to the public, the 20-minute makeover, which was scheduled to commence at Powers Pond on June 4th, has been moved to June 11th for residents and businesses wanting to take place in the cleanup of our city. Please contact Rosie Stead, Community Events Coordinator at 748-1008. And this, again, is so important. Mount Pearl, we call it a park within the city for a reason. And in order to keep it as clean as possible, it's important that we all do our part. And so we can all continue to enjoy Mount Pearl for the beautiful city that it truly is. And that is it for me, Your Worship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're going to move now to the Corporate Services and Public Works Committee, and I believe Councillor Locke is starting tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one question for Councillor Lane and her committee. With respect to the 20-minute makeover, I know we're meeting at Powers Pond. Where specifically? Are we meeting at the boat shed in Powers Pond or in the lower part of Powers Pond Park? Just for the information.
Traditionally, it's been the boathouse, isn't it? But I know where you're going. You want to just clarify.
Right.
They're by the boathouse / kind of the parking lot, because there will be buses.
Okay.
So we'll be going back and forth carrying people, if you recall.
Yep.
So I'd say the boathouse, but also some, once it gets organized, we'll end up going back to the parking lot.
Okay. Sounds good. Just wanted that for clarity, because other events we had, sometimes we meet in the lower end of the park. So when we say Powers Pond, just for clarity. So thank you for that, Director. Okay, Mayor, I'm pleased to present the first 3 items in our committee report for Corporate Services and Public Works Committee. The first here are the invoices for approval. And as you see there, we have 4 included here today, and they total the $62,418.60. Number 2, you can see there is the Go Bus operating costs. So for the month of April, the cost was $38,650.03. And just another one there, the OmniGo software. This is a recurring fee. And this particular item deals with the software that's used by our municipal enforcement officers in the logging and reporting of infractions. So it's a crucial piece of software and what our MEOs do for our community there. So you can see that comes in at $5,053.43. So once again, the 4 invoices here that we're seeking approval for total $62,418.60. And I move that these be accepted as presented, Your Worship.
It is moved by Councillor Locke and seconded by the Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Mantle has a question.
I wasn't second. I was just waiting a second. Just a quick note, maybe okay. I noticed that the almost starting to creep up to $38,000. I think last time was 25. Does it start to go up because COVID is over now, people are using it more, or?
Rates haven't changed.
That's not-
Oh, sorry, Director Pittman, apologies.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it's based on usage. So I can't comment on why it's increased, like if it's because of COVID or not, but it's based on usage. So we'll get a receipt and we'll understand the usage impact, but it typically is, we do see fluctuations, like we've seen them historically as well. So I'm not surprised to see it up.
$40,000. So I'm trying to change the residents have to pay it. Well, it seems to go up.
Yeah, it's about $600,000 a year.
Further questions, thoughts? I'll call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, and motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. The second item here for our committee is the payment register. And this is just for information for council and our residents. And the following register is for May the 12th to May the 24th of 2022, and it totals $433,934.41. And again, there's a whole host of items there. If there's any particular questions, you can bring them forth, and we'll do our best to provide the answer for you.
All good.
Good. Okay. I'll take the third one as well, Your Worship. And this is a professional development request from our Deputy Mayor Kiley. And this has to do in conjunction with her attendance at the Municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador Municipal Symposium that was held May the 5th to May the 7th, 2022 in Gander, Newfoundland. And so this is in line with our professional development policy and our budgets. And I move that we grant this request.
Again, this is within standard policy. That was May 7th to the 5th to 7th. Deputy Mayor Kiley, you can second this motion. There's no issue with that. Thank you very much. I'll call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll turn it over to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Locke. That leaves us with 2 remaining items on our committee to move forward. The fourth is a tax deferral for low-income earners. The committee certainly recommends approval for the following in accordance with the council's policy for low-income earners. So as you see, there's two account items there. The one for $1,099.65. Additionally, the second account for $1,072.38. That leaves us with our fifth and request for tax consideration.
Pardon me for a second.
Oh.
I think it's a motion.
Oh, yes,
The next
sorry.
row, sorry. Yeah, moved by the deputy mayor. Thank you. And the second by Councillor Locke. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, nobody opposed. Motion carried. Thank you.
Great.
Sorry.
That's fine. And we've got then our final request for a tax consideration. The committee recommends approval to exempt 2022 business taxes in accordance with our policy for charitable and nonprofit organizations for the following. So that would include our members here. Excuse me. Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce, Alzheimer's Society NL, Visions Employment, and I so move.
Moved by the deputy mayor and second by Councillor Locke that we exempt the 2022 business taxes according to policy, of course. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. I think the microphones are playing a little bit. We are finished, and I'm going to suggest, given the late hour, council, one item for the roundtable. I hope that you're comfortable with that. It's getting late. We have more business to conduct. So I'm going to start off with Councillor Lane.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I just want to congratulate the Mount Pearl Senior High Husky Explorer robotics team. They took first place in the 2022 Regional Mate ROV competition, and they will be representing the province in the international competition in Long Beach, California. So that's a huge accomplishment for them. Many of our talented youth involved. So a huge congratulations to them.
Well said, Councillor Fry.
Trying to pick just one. I'm going to say two really quick ones.
Thank you.
And these are just the upcoming ones. Admiralty House, they're celebrating their 25th anniversary this year. And I noticed that one of the things that they're doing is creating a community quilt, which I thought was just so creative. So they're asking people to submit an 8-inch square, and you can pick up supplies at the museum or use your own supplies, and they must be submitted by June the 25th. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that final product. And also the Mount Pearl Soccer Association, who are celebrating their 50th anniversary. They have lots of events planned, but I just wanted to acknowledge that this coming Sunday, June the 5th at 9 a.m., they're doing a 5K fun run, and it starts at Mount Pearl Intermediate. And I have lots more, but I will defer to another meeting. Thank you.
Councillor Locke.
I just thank you, Mayor. I just want to send out a huge bouquet and congratulations to our staff and organizers of the Focus on Youth Awards. The feedback in the community has just been overwhelmingly, tremendously positive. It was such a beautiful event. It was a gala night. It was so well run. It went off like clockwork. And you see the youth in the city, they're walking a little bit taller the next day, having attended that ceremony. And I've had a number of youth that thanked me as a council member for the city acknowledging them as members of the city of Mount Pearl, of our community. So I can't overstate the impact that has on the youth in our city, and the fact that they truly appreciate the recognition that we gave to them. The meal was fantastic. The decoration was fantastic. The music and performances was fantastic. It was just a great night overall. So I want to extend, I know Rosie Stead was at the lead, but I know it's a team effort that goes into this. So I just wanted to publicly acknowledge our team and commend them on such a job. So well done. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, and the nicest thing I saw that night was our CAO, who attended her first Focus on Youth Awards, and she normally takes everything in stride, but I know she was really, really proud to be the CAO of the city of Mount Pearl. And as I said in my remarks, and I'm sorry for stealing somebody else's time here, but that's where community and the city meet each other really, really good. And your point is well taken about the role of our staff and the importance of the event to our community. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just, I have two items here, so forgive me for moving past, but I have, one is in relation to, which I was very happy to hear in our House of Assembly at the provincial level, one of our residents was recognized today. And of course, I reached out. Linda Ryan is her name. And Linda has been an incredible advocate for work around understanding cancer awareness, support, and all of the work to do around survivors. And of course, when I reached out about that to Linda, and we certainly connect every so often, she wanted, when she knew I was going to be speaking to it at the roundtable today, her focus was, well, please, please, please focus on some of the organization work that's going on, the volunteer work and the fundraisers that are happening. And that just speaks to Linda's tireless efforts and selfless efforts around what she does and where her heart truly is. So to honor that, that's exactly what I'm going to do, and talk a little bit about Pink Days in Bloom, especially since she was one of the key foundational members of this work. Now, in 2010, Linda was diagnosed herself with breast cancer. And the following year, while recovering from the treatments, that was when she established Pink Days in Bloom. And it's a high-spirited awareness and fundraising initiative in support of Breast Cancer Foundation. And that took place between 2011 and 2016. In 2017, it merged with the Canadian Cancer Society, again, expanding its reach, and she continued her volunteer awareness and fundraising efforts with CCS. It's a movement of hope grounded in healing powers of gardens and nature. And if you've ever had an honor to even visit her own personal garden, it is incredibly beautiful and healing. And she certainly puts that in her work. Over the past 10 years, Linda worked tirelessly through a wide network of events and activities, bringing together cancer survivors, those that were newly diagnosed, local support groups and entrepreneurs, just to celebrate resistance, raise money for the CCS. And certainly a lot of the more important work that Daffodil Place is doing in our province. There's incredible amounts of achievements and awards. There's nearly about $200,000 raised. 1 year, 365 nights of accommodation at Daffodil Place for cancer patients was awarded. Linda herself has been recognized locally, nationally, and internationally for her leadership. And when we look at the awareness and fundraising activities through the networks, Linda's connected members with breast cancer community, with others in the community that grows. In addition to garden-inspired fundraisers, as she has identified, there's been pink tree plantings in public parks and Government House, the HMS Murphy Cancer Care Foundation Garden of Hope, the Husky Energy Healing Garden, Daffodil Place, Admiralty House Communications Museum within our city, and Boring Park, just among others. And here are some items that I just wanted to bring, certainly with regards to what's coming up, just to keep people's thoughts of how to contribute and honor certainly the work and initiatives, not only of Pink Days and Blues, but Linda herself. There's Tulips and Teacups for Hope, and this is an annual flower and vintage teacup sale centered around Mother's Day, and it celebrates the important women in our lives. And that is also pairs with Sharp Design, local businesses that specialize in florals and special events. And certainly you're more than welcome to check Pink Days in Blue is on Facebook and their social media just to check out upcoming events. And again, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to connect folks here personally to Linda, the work they're doing, many of the organizations and initiatives that they are certainly connecting. And again, just kudos to Linda. My second item, I just wanted to identify, less on like I said, an acknowledgement, but I just wanted a point of clarity with regards to an organization and some of the correspondence I've received over the last couple of weeks. And it's in relation to the work of the Elizabeth Fry Foundation, and within a motion that had been put forward through council on May 3rd in relation to a cease and desist. I was asked some questions regarding clarity on what the vet from other organizations and community leaders in relation to my position, and I thought it was important and of value to clarify that from that matter. And so I'm just going to take an opportunity to say, when it comes to our city, I think there's significant amount of work and efforts in relation to zoning, supporting transitional housing. And this is an endeavor that is so important to myself and colleagues. And one of the things I wanted to specifically say from my personal perspective on this is to say that this is an endeavor that I think it needs work around not only understanding a modernization and perhaps a larger perspective on how we move forward with transitional housing and supportive housing, but the language and assessment work that needs to be done. And so I just wanted to also put that as a point of view, and especially when we look at, any municipality that we're evolving and knowing that support needs to be put in place for those most vulnerable, and that I strongly support a process of assessment that would need to do that. But I recognizing right now, one of the biggest issues is not only when we are doing a case by case basis, but the work and initiative to look at transitional house on a larger level for our city. And I think there's a value to be said in that when it comes to supporting transitional housing, supporting those that are most vulnerable, but also increasing and modernizing how we as a city are evolving and supporting those sort of initiatives as well. And that's all for me, Your Worship.
So at the end of the day, you support the order, because we would all lose all of our credibility if we did not stand up for the policy and procedures of the city. If I hear you correctly, you're advocating for perhaps future change down the road?
Yes, and an assessment. Right now, one of the initiatives of, going through right now, I feel our focus right now needs to be on a matter in which we can do a proper assessment or more importantly, an amendment. And that process means allowing us to change the language within what we have in our policy, which is not to include social housing, to include supportive housing, to ensure that we can go through an amendment where that can exist within our community. And a part of that process is ensuring that we have all stakeholders at the table, including those that we want to partner with, those that are doing the support work, those that are directly impacted by that, our community members and ourselves. And I think that's what is so important. The reason why I had certainly supported a cease and desist is knowing that the language was not there to support a social housing. And I think what's most important is to support an amendment process to ensure the language is there, that there's a place within our policies and procedures. But on a larger perspective, also, I think this means we need to look maybe at a larger case of where is social housing, supportive housing, transitional housing within the municipal framework and plan as well. And that's a larger conversation. But for today, yes, absolutely. Supporting what was the cease and desist order was with the intention of moving into a process of an amendment and a language change so that we can, again, have the proper language and also zoning that could support a new way, something that is not currently existing in our policies as they stand.
And you support the process that we would have to go through to amend our municipal plan, perhaps, as well as to go through that public engagement piece?
I would support that process, absolutely, because right now what we are setting ourselves up for is a foundational that not only this is one instance of an organization that's doing incredible work and that it's needed in the work it does, but also this is foundational to knowing, well, what's next after that? When we think of supportive housing, we need to think about it holistically and recognize that we don't want to make a policy the enemy of what is needed in our community, or the enemy of good common sense. And I think that's really important, is to recognize that if our policies need to be revisited and go through an amendment process, then I absolutely support that.
Thank you. Councillor Allgood. Councillor Antle, please.
I have one thing to bring up, but I want to respond to. I was councillor brought in that amendment, which we all supported unanimously. And I think what we're talking about right now, I don't think this is fair to bring up to the roundtable. Yeah. I think this is something that we need to bring up at committee. Because A, it was a cease and desist order for a business that can't, didn't have a business occupancy permit for the city of Mount Pearl. Not once did Elizabeth, I'm sorry, Elizabeth Fry ever came to me with a proposal. I didn't know what Elizabeth Fry Foundation was until 3 weeks ago. Till they come to us with some kind of proposal, say this is what they want to put into it. They'll come to committee and we'll discuss it at committee and come back with rationale, either support it or don't support it. Right now, I got an email, we all got an email from somebody stating about the Elizabeth Fry Foundation. They have not once brought in a request to open up a business around Mount Pearl. Till I can see it, then I'll make a decision. But how can I make a decision when no one gave me an application? I'm sorry, but if I told you, I get the application right now, it was a zoning requirement. They're operating in a place that's not zoned for that type of business. Now, it may go out and good, and 2 months down the road, maybe zone that. But let's go through committee so we can all have our say. We're talking about something that maybe never ever happened. Oh, no, I'm sorry, nothing never ever happened. Some application comes in, it could be a fish and chip shop. I don't know what it is. So I'd like to wait and go through a committee. This is only my opinion. I don't know what everybody else thinks. I do know what everybody else thinks. Everybody else voted for the cease and desist order until we get an application. And I think bringing this to the round table, we're going to have to talk about it. We got to bring it to a committee.
Yeah, this is the time, I think, to be objective and wait for some response from, say, the owner of the property. And we got to be very careful, folks. There is an appeal at the appeal board. We shouldn't really discuss too much about the cease and desist. But, as city leaders, we normally follow a process to ensure it first and foremost does not necessarily come to this table as political. It goes to the table where our staff work on it, typically in the planning, I'll say the planning group, so that a professional opinion and advice is given. That's all. So my way of thinking is just, hold our fire here. Let's see what happens as the next steps. This council and you, Deputy Mayor, stand by that order. And that's all that's come before this council of this day. We do wait in anticipation. Deputy Mayor.
And just to clarify too, and I appreciate your feedback on that, Councillor Antle. This is not a matter of making political. It was more so there was clarity. I've been asked to clarify my statements the last time I had spoke on that. And when we were looking at this is a matter I do support. It needs to go through committee. It needs to go through a process. And that's what I'm saying is I support that process of whatever that may look like.
Council Antle. No, that was your turn, wasn't it? I'm only kidding. That was your turn. Mark? Yeah.
I really like the idea of only having one item to bring up at the round table, because I had some things about the process change halfway through. And it came up with, we have a resident, Mr. Starks, just celebrated his 100th birthday.
Yes.
And Mr. Starks is a World War II vet. And we just had Simon McKennis talk about books of valor, and talk about the book from the nation. I think it was very appropriate. The city of Mount Pearl would recommend or to nominate Mr. Starks for a book of valor as a hope for the residents of Mount Pearl. Anyhow, we talk about that.
No, I think that's a great idea, by the way. Yeah.
I think the next thing to do would be the first one for the city of Mount Pearl and recognize Mr. Starks for his service.
I know some quilting people in Mount Pearl that may be only too happy.
Yeah. Councillor Rice, please. Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, well, that'll go to committee. Like, that's the appropriate way to deal with issues.
so I'll be brief as I can. So I looked so now I suppose I never mentioned the NL Pythons that won the gold medal.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah, I had nationals in last week.
what sport was that?
It was awesome. So anyway, hats off to kudos to them. They went 9-0 in all their matches, and they have a phenomenal team. They were in Division 2, Tier 1, but I think that team could have easily competed in Division 1, Tier 1. They were so the best showing that a team from Newfoundland ever done at national tournament in volleyball. And I just want to say a kudos to them for what they done. I got to watch the last half of their last set because I was refereeing the gold medal match in the other division. So I want to say a big congratulations to them and all the work that Richard Christopher, who is a phys ed teacher over at St. Peter's Junior High, and Jacinta as well. She teaches at that school as well. So they coach that team, and they've had that team since grade 7. Wow. And now they're all down the school. They're all graduated this year. And second one I got to say, I want to say a happy birthday to our former counselor Lucy Stiles. Her birthday was last week. I want to say happy birthday, Lucy.
Well said. Thank you very much, sir. I'll just close on what I believe is a happy note, but it's also sad for the Wall family. But Claire Wall passed away this week, and I know Councillor Locke is a neighbor of Claire, but a very tight knit family. You could always see Claire down to the ball field watching the men's softball league where one of her sons played, and but Claire also was one of the I believe was the treasurer with the Frosty Festival a few years ago. She contributed to the Mount Pearl Seniors Independence Group. She went to everything. She went like many of us. She was like the politician, right? She went to every church in Mount Pearl. Not necessarily, it was more about the food and the socialization. So if you ever see your family, just make note that, their mother, their sister, she was a great leader in the community, and they don't have to sit at this table, right, to be leaders in the community. At the end of the day, everybody looked up to Claire. We're going to miss her very much. Very, very sad. So on that note, I leave that. I really believe it's sad for the family, but it was a very much a celebration of Claire's contribution to the community of Mount Pearl. And I'm going to call for the motion to adjourn. It is moved by Councillor Lane and seconded by Councillor Wright.